The growing threat of cybercrime. That's the topic under discussion today on Inside AB. I'm Eddie Taylor. I'm joined by Jeremy Lawrence. So a new report's come out by PwC, and they're saying that this really is a massive threat, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. A global CEO survey of 1,000 business leaders showed that 40% of them are kept awake at night by, well, they're extremely concerned by cyber threats. And in comparison, 40% of them were worried about geopolitical uncertainty and 41% are concerned by terrorism. So it's right up there in the top tier of things that are reasons to be alarmed.
And the threat is really big when you actually talk about the financial cost of cyber attacks on companies.
Yeah, this is not something that's going to happen in the future, it's here. So again, if I can run through some statistics, cybercrime will cost $6 trillion a year by 2021, according to Cybersecurity Ventures data. And a few more stats here. In 2016, it was a $450 billion a year cost. So in 2016, 2017, let me run through a few of the big attacks that happened. 2 billion personal records were stolen in 2016. We had the Equifax data breach. 145.5 million accounts were hacked. You had the Uber data breach, 57 million records stolen. And you had the WannaCry cyber attack where 300,000 computers around the world were attacked in 4 days. Yeah. And that included the National Health Service in the UK, their system. So, yeah, you know, this is a big problem.
Okay, then there has to be sort of new ways of looking at this issue, don't they? You know, you were chatting to someone at PwC about this. What kind of approaches are now people talking about?
Yes, well, this chap, Simone Vernacchia, did I pronounce that correctly?
I think it's Vernacchia, but I don't know.
There we go.
We'll have to call him up and find out.
Right. Well, he's the Senior Director of Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Lead at PwC. And he wrote a comment piece for Arabian Business this week. And he had some interesting things to say on the subject of how we deal with the problem. His biggest point was that we have to not just look at, oh, there's been an attack, how do we fix it? We have to try and identify who the attackers were to start with, and we also have to look at their motives for the attack, because, you know, we have to think like policemen think when they're solving a crime. We have to look at motive, we have to look at who's probably responsible for it. So we have a comprehensive analysis of the attackers is required, and then we have to categorize the attack. Was it crime? Was it warfare? Was it activist related? I mean, there's a lot of reasons why these attacks happen.
It's kind of almost like old school police work, isn't it? In a very futuristic kind of threat, setting. But it's kind of old world kind of motivation, all that kind of stuff. You've got to assess this stuff.
Yeah.
So what kind of solutions are people coming up with to try and head this threat off?
Well, this was revealing as well. Simone, he talked about a few things that a public-private partnership is needed, because obviously this is really of crucial importance to governments and to the big companies out there. So obviously they're going to have to work together. He says that new tools are required and they are starting to be developed. But he was a little bit woolly about this because there aren't any easy answers. I mean, you've got companies like, for example, Cisco. I spoke to their CEO, Chuck Robbins, a few weeks ago, and he said that their self-learning networks, they deal with, he said, 20 billion threats every single day. Yeah. But of course, new threats are emerging. There's always going to be 25 billion threats rather than if you're dealing with 20 billion, for example, just pull that out there. Yeah. So it is a very complex subject. There are a lot of people trying to fix this, but there are no sort of magic bullets, and that really came out of this comment piece. The main thing for now is that everybody, you, me, this company, all companies, all city-states and governments need to be aware that this has to be challenged right now.
Yeah, it's a bit like the whole thing about life insurance. Don't delay, just sign up, get a plan to fix this thing, because it's not going away and you will be a target unless you address this.
Yeah, and you're not 100% safe anyway, but you know, that's life, and we have to just do what we can to mitigate the risks.
Interesting stuff. So that's the threat of cybercrime. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to join us every day at 10 a.m. Join the conversation below if you have any insights. Thanks very much for watching Inside AB.